Okay, in this quick video we are going to go over how you create a story. Just like to first point out, the first thing you have to do is create an account. But the initial account is completely free and will not change. And all of these accounts you can create unlimited amount of stories with. But with that being said, you can, on the home page, you can either click Create New Story here, or click on My Stories, and then Create New Story here. Now, a lot of these settings are pretty self-explanatory, but we're just going to go over them real quick anyway. As it says, this is where you'd write your title, and this is set to also check so that there's no duplicate titles, by the way. Genre. Select your genre that you want to use. These can grow over time. This is just the current starter ones we're going with. Audience. So we have all ages, children, teen, and adult. Now what this is actually going to do behind the scenes is block certain languages and words. So for example, children and all ages will definitely not have allow cuss words to be written in any of these sections. So just keep that in mind here. And adult will, of course, pretty much allow everything. Then there is novel. So if this is checked, what this is going to do is allow you to create stories with chapters. So just think of this as if you want to create a really long form story with more organization. Otherwise, the default behavior is just a normal single flowing story. This is kind of geared towards, just short stories and mid-range level stories. So if you plan on making a longer story, just click on novel. And then something to note, in the future we are working on allowing you to just upgrade a story to novel, but it'll be coming soon. The next option here is going to be fan fiction. So this allows you to just go ahead and flag the story as fan fiction, as in case your work is based off of other fictional work. Next thing we have here are the content ratings. By default, it's not yet rated. And these are, based on profanity. If you feel like it's mild, and violence, maybe you don't have any, sexual content, none, drug and alcohol, moderate. These are just to kind of give your audience, some better knowledge of what kind of content is within your story. And these can also just, you want to go back and update these as your story moves on as needed. Let's see here. Story visibility. Default, it is set to public. If you're on a free account, you're only going to see this option, but on the others, you have private and hidden. The main difference here in private is friends and invited users can see your stories, and on hidden, it's only the people that you actually invite can see your story. Also, by default, a story starts in solo mode, which means no one is allowed to contribute or write on your story other than you. But if you do want to open it up for collaboration, you just select collab. Manual, this allows you to actually control exactly when the story is in collaboration and voting. I will have a separate video that just goes over this completely. Author vote priority. So what this does, if it's checked, is it means the owner of the story, as in the person who created the story, if they vote on a submission, it will win no matter how many votes are on any other submission. By default, this is off. And, we kind of felt this was necessary for those moments when a story just wants to have more guidance from the story owner. But also maybe for those situations where, let's say, someone's working with, a community and they want to be the one that picks the winner, which one fits best, that type of thing. But by default, this is off. Next, we have tiebreaker. So again, by default, this is random. What happens is, let's say there are two winning submissions with they have the exact same amount of votes. What it's going to do is just randomly pick one of those since the votes are tied. The other option is least previous wins, which will then check all users that are tied, and whichever one has not won a submission on the story will actually win. And then from there, let's say they're both still tied, it defaults to random. Next, we have contribution limit. The default here starts at 20, and it can be increased to 50. What this number does is it limits the amount of submissions that a story can have during the voting period. So, right now, let's say a story had 30 submissions, only 20 are going to be visible. It's going to randomly pick 20 out of that pool of 30. If you have it still set to the default of 20. We feel like 50 is a pretty high amount. It'd have to be a story written by like some famous author gets on the platform and actually starts a story. Then I could see this, blowing up to well over 50, more than 50. Which, if this does turn out to be the case, we can definitely visit increasing this. But for now, since we're just starting out, we're trying to see what, the sweet spot is for this. Moving on, we're on to the contribution days. Again, as a free user, you're not going to see all of this or be able to change it. But if you upgrade your account, this particular feature's on the creator one. But this will allow you to set the different days from the default. And you just use the drop downs to pick it. And it'll update this so you can visually see and make sure that's what you want. Next, we have the character limit. This is how many characters you're allowing each submission or next segment to your story to have. And this can go up to a maximum of 15,000. And then we have short summary. You can, as it says here, you can leave it blank and then update this later in the story settings. But this is just a quick summary for your story. If you don't have this and leave it blank, by default, it's going to take the first 3 or 4 sentences of your initial story paragraphs and use that as the summary until you update it. And then the last is just filling out the start of your story. And this is also by default a max of 15,000 characters. And once you're ready, you just hit create story, and your story will appear on the homepage and in your My Stories. I hope this information is helpful, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.